our webinar today. I'm Chad Hill. I'm here with our account management team in the Rochester office. Today we have a great account management. We do have Adam is out of the office today, so Matt is going to be manning our chat window. Take it easy on him today. But without any further ado, let's get started. I saw a really interesting graph the other day that was published in SEO Moz, but it comes from the lean startup movement. And this is something that people saying they can't see my screen.
Nothing yet.
Okay, let me just make sure that. Okay, there we go. This graph that I saw the other day, I thought was very appropriate to this conversation that we were having about account management and retention. And so typically this is what software entrepreneurs are looking for. They're looking for this hockey stick growth over here to the right. They want their company to eventually just take this hockey stick growth movement up to the right. But I thought this is really interesting because the question, at least from that the author originally posed, was what do you do between the beginning and when you start to see this hockey stick? And this is very true for marketing campaigns as well. And in fact, someone from Distilled SEO wrote a nice piece in SEO Moz the other day, but I wanted to borrow that because I thought it was very appropriate to our discussion. So the question really is here is what does happen during this time? Because this is account management. And is this time 3 months? Or is this time 6 months? Or is this time 2 years? And I think that's really important for all of us as we look at these, as we run these different campaigns and work on different online marketing projects, that we keep in mind that this is really the tough part because we know that there is success on the other side. Now, I want to say that you might want to temper people's expectations and not show them that they're going to go from 0 to 10 million. But even in this particular case here, where I start off with whether this is revenue of $1, $10, $1 million, there's progress, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time before you really see the results coming in. So let's talk about why this matters. This matters because there's really a strong financial case for retention. Let's just think about, I think on one hand, a lot of people sign up accounts, and we got some good stats that I'll share. Didn't get quite as many people as I'd hoped to fill out our survey, but I also I'm going to try to do some online polling here as well today. But if you think about an SEO project or campaign that has a 6-month retention, that means that basically you're going to lose every one of your clients twice this year. So that's really pretty bad. That's not a great way to run a business, because that means you're going to be searching for clients a lot. And in fact, I started to write a blog post that I'll be publishing about the quickest way to double your revenue would be to simply figure out how do you get your customers to not stay 6 months, but to stay 12 months, because you would effectively double your revenue by doing that. And so a lot of this, again, comes back to account management. And one of the things that's interesting from our perspective as the reseller and your partner is that we work with a lot of different agencies, obviously, and we have some agencies who have really 90-day retention, and we have some that have multi-year retention. And we're doing the same thing on both accounts, right? So it really comes down to some of this is how do you sell it and how do you manage the relationship. And we heard in the last webinar some great feedback and advice from Chuck, one of our resellers, about things that he does. But we thought that we'd also just talk about this with some of the other recommendations that we have. And I think a lot of them will overlap with some of the ones that he gave you. Any questions on that?
Nothing yet. Very quiet.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about what account management is, at least on an SEO project. So I said that it's really about setting customer expectations and preparing them for the SEO process. And this is really tricky because for the most part, if you think about what people are buying when they're buying SEO, they're buying more success off the web. They want more business off the web. People don't really care if they're ranked number 1 or 2. They care because there's traffic, there's more leads, there's more business and revenue for their company. So you have a choice as the account manager, or really as a salesperson at this point, about setting expectations. Because if you set the expectations too high, the customer is going to be disappointed when you can't deliver and quit. But if you set them too low, then the customer is not really going to see the value in the service and will never sign up to start the project in the first place. So it's a tricky business, because you know from that slide we showed you a couple moments ago that there's this time frame involved, and that people have to sort of be able to see through that window. And again, I think that what we contractually put in place at least from a HubShout standpoint of 90 days and what is realistic are two different things. I mean, the days of 90 days being enough to basically be ready to stop your SEO program and celebrate success, those days are over. And I think if you look across the industry, there are very few people that talk about saying that all you need is 90 days and you're done. What we really try to condition and tell people is that you will see movement in 90 days, but you're not where you need to be to actually be seeing the business. So we're going to talk about that some and get into that a little bit more in a minute here. So again, you want to set expectations correctly, because the customer knows what they're buying, the benefit they're buying. So the features are all of the links and backlinks and on-site updates and content. So we have all these features we can deliver, but ultimately the benefit is that improvement in rankings, improvement in traffic, and ultimately improvement in business. So that's where you are setting that expectation. And then you're going to get into, well, what's that worth to them, right? Because this is, and we do this a lot in pay-per-click, we know that make people get pretty specific up front about what is the value of a new lead to them, so that we can actually look at things like cost per click and other factors and say, can we even get you leads at that rate? It's almost the same with SEO. You have to be thinking, well, if this person is successful and generates more business off the web, and each one of those new widgets they sell is $10,000 in revenue, they have to realize that it's going to take them a period of time to get the rankings, generate the traffic, to actually see that benefit. So you have to be setting that expectation up front. Your key levers as an account manager or salesperson are keyword targets, so making sure that you don't pick overly competitive keywords, or at least all overly competitive keywords. And you want some long-term goals, but give yourself a few short-term ones as well. Time frames. So again, what I said here is that there is a difference between contractual and, I guess I said understood, but the idea is that contractually, yes, it may be 90 days, and you may have a contract that does the same thing with your customer. But the one downside to putting any number on anything like that is that you've also set that number in your client's head that they're going to have success at 90 days if that's their contractual obligation. So again, we have some resellers who only sign year-long deals. We have some that don't sign deals at all. In fact, I have a slide here, I think, on that about the average contract. But that's something that I think is really important for people to think about. The other one is setting metrics for success. So we want to make sure that you know what are the success metrics that you're targeting. So again, ultimately it's business off the web, but there are those leading indicators like rankings and traffic, non-branded organic traffic. All of those factors are ones that will be levers that you want to start to introduce to your client early on. And then I think the final one here is mix of services. And what I meant by mix of services is that in my experience, again, looking not only across some of the accounts we've had direct, but also all of our reseller accounts, when someone has more than one service, that you're operating more than one service with somebody, you have a deeper relationship with them. And my experience is that the retention is higher on those types of programs. So, everyone's got their different approach in terms of how they're going to market, and they may be point service with local SEO or pay-per-click only or whatever their plan is. But my experience is that when there is a diverse set of programs running, it gives you more to talk about. When one thing isn't going as well as you'd like, you've got something else that hopefully is, and you can sort of balance that discussion. So that's something to think about here as you get into account management. Okay. I'm going to try this poll thing here because I would like, as we're going through this, to throw out a few polls. So I'm going to ask everybody just on the contracting side. Okay, cool. Yeah, wow. So if everyone could answer that, that'd be really cool. I'm just kind of curious to know where we are with contracting, whether people are asking for contracts or not. So the question here is, what are your contract terms with your client? And select one here. Is it 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, over a year, or what's a contract? Oh, nice. Can they see that, Matt?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. We got the winner right now is the winner is 33%. What's the contract? So either we have some jokesters out there, or we're not doing a very good job on the contracting side. But then the second, actually a tie with that is also 33% are saying 3 months. So we'll go ahead and close that and go on to the next one. But that's pretty cool. So thank you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where to start if you're an account manager. The first thing I think is product education, and really the more, again, a very high, strong correlation that I see across a fairly large community of reseller partners that we have is that the ones who have taken the time to really understand the product are generally have a better retention than those who don't. And I think that's pretty obvious because obviously if you don't know the product, then it's pretty hard to sell it, but certainly to retain it. So let's talk about some ways that you might be able to learn about online marketing services and especially SEO. So we do these webinars. We do them twice a month. We have our forum online. There's tons of industry news, SEO Moz, Search Engine Watch, Search Engine Journal. There's lots of good information in there. You have your account manager. There are opportunities there to get trained on at least how HubShout services work. So those are all good ways to learn about services. And as I said, the more that you can become an internet marketing consultant, the more trust that you will build with your clients, and I think the better your retention will be.
Actually, I did have a question. I just wanted to see if you could turn up your mic. It's a little hard to hear.
Okay. How about if I try to scoot a little closer to it? Let's see, guys. Yeah, we're doing speaker today, so with the crew here. I'm going to turn off the. Okay, we've got a lot of mics sitting around me, so hopefully that's a little better. Here. Okay, so let's talk about sales expectations for a minute. So this is actually the contract term that I had asked before, but from our people who responded before, we actually said most people were in the range of 55% of people that responded prior to the webinar said that 3 months was their contract term that they had. So pretty close to what we saw a minute ago. So from a sales expectation standpoint, I mentioned this before, but keyword difficulty is a really important part of the project. And our general recommendation is that you pick some keywords that are attainable in the short run and then some that are a little bit more of a stretch. All of them should have volume, but we want you to obviously pick reasonable keywords. Now, there are many times where I still see that the keywords people are picking are pretty tough. And the reason I know they're tough is that, first of all, if you use our current metric for establishing competition, which is checking the exact match number of pages in the Google index with that term. It's pretty high. But the other thing that I look at more and more is I look at who's in the top 10 now. And what I see more and more is that the competition of the people in the top 10 is significantly more difficult than it was only a couple years ago. And that makes sense, right? Everyone knows that this is a great way to generate leads for their business, and so they're all out there competing for those first 10 slots. But that's one thing I would look at. It's not only just our metric for it, but also who are you trying to knock off page one, because it can be very difficult. The next one is length of time for SEO. So again, the more time, the better, and setting some guideposts of of basically things that are going to happen in the first 30, 60, 90 days, but also setting that expectation that, again, it may not be that you're going to get your perfect page one ranking in 90 days. And in fact, actually, I would never say it's going to happen. And it just doesn't happen unless you're almost there anyway. You need more time. Budget and scope control. So from a budget and scope control standpoint, one of the things that, again, is really important is sort of saying what's in and what's out. Now, currently, as you guys know, with us, we'll give you an on-site audit, but we don't actually implement the changes unless you authorize us to do that. We're making some changes on that we'll be launching in the next few months. But for now, make sure that you understand what's in the budget and scope that we establish and what isn't, so that you can tell your customer, and there aren't any surprises with them either, right? So if they're feeling like you're nickel and diming them because now 3 months into the project you're coming back asking for extra dollars where you always assumed you were going to do it, you just didn't clearly specify it. Timelines, I've already talked about those, but again, just giving people very clear expectations about when things are going to happen. You're going to have a monthly meeting. That's all very important. And I already mentioned diversification. And then I think this one is important, and because we all too often do it the other way. But really, like under promising and over delivering is a good way to get a project going, right? So if you tell someone you want to launch it on a Friday, if you can get it done on a Wednesday, that's just a nice little bonus to have that you don't have to do because you had till Friday, but it's nice to have it done early, and it makes the client think this guy's got his stuff together. All right, a couple more poll results here, and maybe we'll throw a couple more out as we're going through this. So again, I asked, what expectation do you set with a customer for seeing results? And most people were seeing results in movement and ranking in 3 months, leads and phone calls sometime in that 3 to 6 months is what people had here, and then customers also in 3 to 6 months. So, again, I know that's what we all want, right? But if you look at trying to figure out how can we move from a 6-month retention to a 12-month retention, we all need to be working on making sure we set the expectations. I mean, 6 months, I think that's where you probably need to be. But 3 months is a tough one because movement and rankings, yes. Leads and phone calls and customers, that's tight. So let me move on to another one of these poll questions I want to ask people here. Let's throw this one up because this is a good one. So this one I'm asking now is basically, does anyone out there offer a guarantee to their client? Did I launch that thing? Yeah, so it's going. Okay. So everyone vote on this really fast, and then we'll get back to it. So we've got 86% say no, 14% say yes. This is pretty cool, actually. As you vote, I see the system clocking down. All right, so 91% say no, and 9% say yes. So I don't think we have any text from the other document that I put together that said what kind of guarantee people are offering. But our general approach on that is no. I know that asking if you have a guarantee doesn't mean that you're saying you're going to get page 1. So there's lots of different ways people are putting together guarantees, like do you like me guarantees or various other things. But generally speaking, we don't offer guarantees. It's just because it's not possible to control where Google ranks any one website on the web. You know, our tactics we use are consistent across the board, and just sometimes, again, a lot of times it comes down to who's ahead of you in the search results as to how quickly or slow, how long it takes to get moved up in the rankings. Okay, talk a minute now about the kickoff meeting, because we did a good job of setting expectations up front about how long this is going to take, and now we are at the point where we're ready to kick this off. And I always joke, well, actually don't joke, I'm seriously always think of the kickoff meeting as also everything I'm doing at that kickoff meeting is really setting myself up so that 90 days from now, I'm going to have everything I need to be able to defend the account, right? So this is where I'm like, I want to make sure I'm getting my metrics established, I want ranking tracker set up, Google Analytics set up, I want lead tracking set up, because I want to get a baseline. It's really, really, really important to get a baseline at this point from day 0, because if you don't have the baseline, it's almost impossible when you're on the phone 90 days from now saying, are things going the right way or the wrong way? If you don't have anything to look at, then you're sort of blind, and usually you end up taking the fall saying that it's not working. So I'm always thinking kickoff is really not about, it's about kickoff today, but it's also about setting up that what's going to happen 90 days from now. So let's talk about what we want to do there. We want to make sure that we revisit all the expectations from the sale and the close. So we want to make sure we go back through timelines and expectations. We want to talk about the process. So in our case, we really like to talk about our task system and the dashboard and analytics. So ideally, you guys are using some of the same, setting those same expectations that, you know, the best way to work with us is we'll establish tickets and put due dates on them and get back to you so that nothing slips through the cracks, and that all the data and the analysis will be done in the dashboard. Again, I know some people are pulling extra data from different places and it doesn't quite work for them, but I'd say the vast majority of our reseller partners are using the core reporting platform, and that's critical. Turnaround time expectations. So again, you know, our expectations and turnaround time is that we'll always respond to any question if you get it in before 3 that day, to let you know at least that we've got it and that we're going to work on it, or by the next business day if it's after 3. Doesn't mean we're going to be able to solve that problem right then, but we're going to acknowledge it and let you know when we think we can get back to that problem. And of course, at that point, if whatever we tell you isn't reasonable, we can always, you know, discuss that and figure out what a reasonable time would be, or explain why we need the time that we need to get back to you. And then, of course, getting into setup is also important. So I want to make sure that we've got Google Analytics set up, all the usernames and passwords, and then providing you all the setup instructions for the lead form, phone tracking, social media, and email marketing. Okay. So, any questions, Matt?
No, just
okay.
A couple people said that they offered like a 4-month contract, and they just were a little more specific about the guarantees they were offering, but mostly okay. Rankings and traffic levels.
Okay, great. Okay, let's do another poll real quick as we go through here. See what we've got. All right. All right, let's ask this one, which is basically going to be, how often do you set up tracking with your customer within the first 2 weeks of the kickoff meeting? Let's just kind of get a sense here, because again, this is getting back to the earlier you get this set up, the better. Okay, so some results are coming in here. We've got sort of a kind of a nice little, well, 3-way tie on the second place. The first place is always, 33%, that's good. And then 22% said never, 22% said sometimes, and 22% said usually. maybe Matt can get a little info on the sometimes and never guys to understand if it's just they don't know how to set it up or what exactly the issue is. Okay, close that down and proceed here. Okay, so let's talk then about showing value as the project progresses. So once you basically, I think Chuck did a great job in our last webinar sort of talking about some celebrating successes along the way. And, I think, again, one of the things that we built into our dashboard was trying to put together metrics by pulling the data together from lots of different places so that it was very easy to show it on the dashboard and to allow you to be able to have very quick access to metrics for account management. So here are some things that we would suggest. When the on-site updates are done, we really want to make sure on-site updates are done, because the more that you can get on-site coupled with your off-site, overall the more success you're going to have. I want to make sure we get analytics for all traffic set up, and that goes in the dashboard. At least beyond that, we want to be able to show the growth of traffic. We want phone tracking. Again, this is one that not a lot of people. We're getting more people using, but still a lot of people are not using phone tracking, and we continue to see that people just love it when they see it. And I think some of the account managers can talk about it. We have, it just gives you so much power to be able to sit down in your ongoing meetings with your clients and basically pull up some phone calls. And even if you're not, if some of the phone calls may be coming in from other sources, just being able to show the tracking that they're getting from their website is very powerful. And again, even though they may not necessarily be paying you for it, it's just a way of having another set of services that you're offering that can take some of the heat off, or it can divert some of the focus if you're at the 90 days and that ranking that you were hoping would be moving a little bit closer to page 1 isn't quite as far along as you'd like. So just having some other things to talk about is often very important in keeping the client with you past the 6-month window, or even in some cases a 3-month window. Okay. Monthly account management meetings. I know these are hard, and it was funny because our phone company that runs the phone service has an account manager assigned to our account, and he's been calling and trying to set up a meeting with me, and I've been busy, and I haven't yet set it up. So I know that in my mind I'm thinking like everything's fine, we're happy with you guys, I don't need to talk to you. But I also know that the reason he's calling me is because that's the case today. But if tomorrow something bad happens, you need something more than you need that relationship that goes beyond just the good times. So getting monthly account management meetings set up with your end customers, even if it's just to get on the phone and talk about progress and where the rankings are, and talk about activities that were done last month and that we're on top of things, and that we got to keep at this, because like we said early on, this takes many months, and we're just in the middle of the program. But getting that touch point with the customer every month is really important. I don't think I have this poll here. I'd love to know how many people do account management meetings monthly. Let's see if I've got a poll here. Oh, I do actually. Here we go. Let's throw this question up. This is a good one. All right. So how often do you review the campaign progress with your client? Okay, we've got people coming in. We've got a monthly 100% so far. Be honest out there. Okay, people are either tuned us out or, oh, actually, we've actually got a lot of people, everyone's saying monthly. Okay. All right, good. So we have 100% of you out there, of those who voted, which I think it says 45% have now voted, said that they have a monthly We just had one person, a couple people being honest now. So we've got now that now it's down to 83% monthly and 17% never, with 55% of the precincts reporting. I kind of feel like I'm on like a CNN or Fox News, like watching the election night. So, all right, thank you for that. On to the next one. Okay, so we talked about phone tracking. Web to lead form is another one. And again, a web to lead form is a great way. There's sort of two benefits there. One is that, again, you're pulling in information that you can provide them trend lines. So, let's just say that their rankings are marginally better, but you've done some on-site work, and some of the on-site work might have been tuning up some content. You wrote a couple on-site blogs for them, and then you can see that over time, the number of web leads they're getting off the website is going up. There's something there. There's a story there, and it's again it's part of you being the internet marketing consultant going in and talking about not only the rankings and the traffic and everything else that's happening, but this overall the health of the website is going up. Not to mention that there's other benefits, like most website owners are getting their forms delivered via email. They don't have any stats at all, really, most of them at least, that show them what the trend line looks like for web form submissions. So you're going to be bringing data to them that they didn't even know existed. So even at the end of the day, they're like, that's a smart person who really understands my website and is taking care of my website and the rankings and watching everything that's going on. There's value in that is going to help you get retained beyond those 6 months, or again, the 3 months or the 6 months, and get you to that year or beyond. Okay? We had one of our account managers, John, actually said something that I thought was really smart. He's like, what we all have to be thinking about is everyone pays their hosting bill, right? Everyone knows that they need to pay their hosting bill to keep their website running. Well, we all have to be, our jobs are to sort of build and make them understand that content marketing and online marketing programs that we're running are really no different than paying the hosting bill. Like, why, if you're going to pay the hosting bill and keep the website on, you ideally want to be running programs that are going to bring traffic to that website, so they bring you business to your company. So that's all of our jobs, is to really figure out how do we get people to convince people that this is not a 3-month project or a 6-month project, but this is the same thing as paying their monthly hosting bill. It's a program they need to run forever. Okay, talked about monthly account management meetings and education. Proactive communication goes along with the monthly account management meeting, which it sounds like we're doing pretty well on. And then the last one is being honest about missteps, because when things do go wrong, you don't want to cover it up, right? You want to basically be honest about it and move forward. So those are some of the things that you want to do as to really demonstrate the value as the project moves forward. Do we have any questions?
No, just a couple of people commenting about the tracking systems they're using. And
okay. Anything interesting?
Just people using a couple different systems, and then one person mentioning that they actually hand out reports every 2 weeks. So,
okay.
So they're doing a great job as far as that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, good. Well, I think let's see. We have one more poll here, and then we can maybe circulate some of these around afterwards after this is closed, so everyone sees the results. Okay, I think actually those are the main ones that I put together. Okay, well, so our last, if there aren't any other questions on the topic here, the last thing we wanted to cover was the free giveaway for today's webinar. So here we go. So basically, well, again, we want to thank you for staying to the end of the webinar. And basically, you are eligible to receive one free on-site blog on any campaign that has an active service plan on it. It's a pretty good value. It's a $99 value. It goes down a bit if you're on a recurring plan, but a one-off on-site blog post is $99 value, and we are offering it to you for $1. You might ask why $1? That's so we can track on our system to make sure that we know that the campaign was signed off correctly and everything is ready to be worked on. So act now, same idea. You basically have until you must submit a support ticket on the campaign where you want that free blog post, free on-site blog post by 5 p.m. today to claim this freebie. And just for people who don't know how to do that, you would go into your dashboard and you would click the support task option in the upper right-hand corner, search for the campaign or pick it from the drop-down depending on what view you see that you would like it on, and then just somewhere in that support task put in webinar 305. Okay. So if you have until 5 o'clock, any support ticket that's not stamped in our system by 5 p.m. Eastern will not be eligible to get one. And Matt, do you have any questions on that?
Yeah, I have someone saying, you talked a lot about what to do and why to do it, but the main thing we need to know is how, which I think is, goes to the heart of, I think, the, the dashboard really handling a lot of that for them, but, it wasn't more specific about the how piece.
Okay, so I talked about what to do and how to do it. Yeah, so we actually, that's a good question. We have done some other webinars on specific points here of like how to do a account review meeting, how to do a demo, how to talk about expectations. So maybe what I can do is I'll have Jenna on our marketing team go back through and in this document I'll also send out this presentation, but we'll put in some other resources that we've built that will answer a little bit more how specifically on a couple of the things that we talked about here in the list on each of these pages. Unless there's any more specific question on how.
Do we get only one of the blog entries, or can we get one for all of our clients for $1?
Yeah, it's one per reseller. So if you have 10 clients with us, you can pick your client that you'd like to try it on and plug it in. So again, the idea here on these is that it's just getting you to use other parts of the service in our platform that you don't usually use, so that you can understand how they work, and hopefully we get you to be able to experience how they work, and it's something that you want to use on other clients.
Okay, so one other question was one of our resellers is a common problem as an account manager that they deal with web developers who do not let them make those on-site tracking changes to the website. They're always slow to implement tracking scripts. Any advice for tough web developers? And where do you learn more about phone tracking? Second question.
So yeah, on the web developer one, we are. So I'm assuming from the way the question was asked is that this is one where you can't get the username and password and have anyone else work on it. It's a company that won't let you have access to it. Those are tough. I don't have any. The only thing I've done on those is, basically just it's kind of squeaky wheel, and I just keep escalating back to the business user when I run into those situations, saying that this is critical, it must be done, and really, if they're not going to do it, then you want. I mean, this is sort of like office politics, but you basically want to inoculate yourself so that at some point when the client's like, this isn't going well, you actually can say, well, let me pull out my document here where I had asked your web developer 6 times to make this change and they wouldn't do it, because this is really important and this is why we need to get this done. I found that usually when people are like all of a sudden realizing that they may be getting in the way of the success of a project or that they become the reason a project fails, they typically go do it. So if there's any special situations, I mean, bring it up either in the forum and we can maybe help you troubleshoot any specific tracking setup issues, but that's usually been my approach, is kind of be the squeaky wheel and set it up as if we don't get this done, it could impact the success of the project, which would be a very expensive problem, to sort of make it, without sounding threatening, make it sound like it's pretty bad if they don't, get off their butt and do it. So.
Yeah, that's it for those questions.
Okay.
And I mean, I've often just gone right to the through my reseller to ask the owner for their login and try to bypass the troublesome web developer too, but that's limited.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're doing, and with the next webinar that you'll hear us do here in a couple weeks, is on our website reseller program that we're launching. And one part of the website reseller program will be sort of full-blown website support and maintenance. So a lot of these changes that today, you're looking for just a quick change, we'll be able to help you get some of the stuff done using this new process that we'll be launching in 2 weeks. So that's the other sneak preview we talked to you about the launch of the program. But on March 18th, which is a Monday, we're planning on having a webinar. That's the next webinar, and we will be launching to the world our website reseller program, which we're really excited about. So until that time, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we will have this webinar posted tomorrow. Thank you.